Hi, I'm Axel, and this HitFilm tutorial is going to look at how to recreate the title for Hobbs Shaw, which features some cool 3D animation. A lot of the setup for this tutorial is already done to save time. I will walk you through it to help you get your bearings, but this tutorial is going to work best if you already have some knowledge of the software. I'm using HitFilm Pro, but almost everything here can be done in HitFilm Express as well. The only tool we use that isn't in the free version is the Extrude geometry effect, which is available in the 3D Generate add-on pack. So here is the project, which is linked in the video description. In order to follow along, you will first need to download and install the font Antique Olive BQ Nord Italic from downloadfreefonts.com. If you don't have that font installed, then the project won't look correct, and the text elements will probably need a bit of repositioning to get the correct alignment. Once you have the font installed, download the project and open it. We have several text layers here. On the lower line, the ampersand and the S had to be separate elements to get the alignment I wanted, but these layers are parented to the main Shaw layer, so we can move them all as one unit. Each text layer is set to a deep red color with a pale yellow outline set to 3 pixels wide. My favorite part about this title is the way that the two lines of text sort of swing in from opposite sides. To achieve this, the Hobbs line uses left alignment, so the anchor point is at the bottom left corner of the layer. The Shaw layer uses right alignment, so the anchor is at the bottom right corner. If you want to do something similar with a layer that isn't text, you can reposition the anchor point by changing the anchor point value, then adjust the position in the opposite direction to compensate for the offset. Okay, now we are ready to begin on the animation. For the main movement, we will create a new point layer, call it Control Point, and set it to 3D. Select all of our text layers, convert them to 3D as well, and then parent the Hobbs, Shaw, and FXhome Presents layers to our control point. 3 seconds is where we want the title to come together into its finished form in this layout, so at 3 seconds, enable keyframing for the point layer's position. Move back to frame 0 and shift the point forward by increasing the Z value until FXhome Presents is almost as wide as the frame. You'll need to shift the point down a bit as well. 0, -220, 1000 are the values I used, but feel free to tweak that if you prefer a different layout. Now move to the final frame of the timeline and set the Z value to -100. This will keep the title moving slightly after it all comes together. Now to rotate the text. Move back to 3 seconds and enable keyframing for the Y rotation property of both Hobbs and Shaw. Then move back to frame 0 and rotate each layer toward the camera. I rotated Hobbs 17 degrees and Shaw -17 degrees, but if you want more or less rotation, you can modify those settings accordingly. Sweet! That completes the movement of the text, so go ahead and give that a watch. Up next, we will give this some spit and polish by adding depth and illumination. At 3 seconds again, add a new light and open its controls. Set the fall off to curve, which gives the most realistic lighting, and this will allow us to set up the light so the center of the text is brighter than the outside edges. Set the reach to 2500 and shift its position forward to 1000 on the Z-axis. Starting with the text outside the light like this results in a cool reveal as the text moves into the illuminated area. Next, we will extrude this text to get some depth. In the Geometry folder, locate Extrude and add it to our Hobbs layer. If you are using HitFilm Express, you can skip the extrusion or purchase it in the 3D Generate add-on pack. The title still works without it, though I think you'll agree it's not as cool without the extrusion. Set the depth to 15 and enable internal edges. The effect is pretty subtle at this point, but this is fun. Create a new light and shing! The edges light right up. We don't even need to mess with this light's settings. Its default position places it right above the text, so it shines down on the edges but doesn't illuminate the face. Select that extrude effect, copy it, then paste it onto the other text layers. Scrub through and check the illumination throughout. At the end, where the text moves behind the secondary light, it gets a bit brighter than I'd like. which we can fix by keyframing the intensity of our key light. Rename these light layers, naming the first one key and the second one edge. Then in the key light, at 3 seconds, enable keyframing for the intensity. Then at the final frame, bring intensity down to 50% or so. Our final component is the light flare. We need 2 new layers for this. First, a 3D point layer to control the flare's position, and second, a black plane layer with its blend mode set to add to hold the flare effect. We want the flare to grow, then fade, with its brightest point being right at 3 seconds. So trim the start of the plane layer to 2 minutes and 20 seconds, leaving 10 frames for the flare to fade in. Trim the point layer to that same frame, then move to the final frame of the timeline. Adjust the flare point's position so it is at the base of the second B in Hobbs. Then enable keyframing for the position. Parent the point to the Hobbs layer. Move back to the start of the point layer, then shift the point left to the middle of the first B. Now, find the light flare effect and add it to the plane layer. In the hotspot position, select the flare point and zero out the center. Then we need to adjust a bunch of settings to get the appearance that we need for this flare. Set the flare type to anamorphic streak. Set intensity to 1.1. Scale to 1600. In global, set gamma to 85, saturation to 0.7, and then under hotspot, shift brightness to 1.3, and set the color to a muted burnt orange, and scale to 1.5. In rays, set brightness to 1.4 and length scale to 0.5. Normally, creating an effect like this on your own, you're going to just do some experimentation to find the right settings. So these are the settings I came up with after I messed around a bit on my own. Now let's keyframe a few properties to create the swell in the flare. At 3 seconds, again, enable keyframing for intensity and in rays for brightness and length scale. Jump back to 220 and set intensity to 0 and length scale of the rays to 0. So now those start from 0 and the flare gradually grows as we come up to 3 seconds, and then jump to the last frame of the timeline and we'll bring those down a bit, set intensity to 0.9 and the brightness of the rays to 1. And there we go. That finishes up the effect, which now looks like this. Thanks for watching. We have another film title-based tutorial available here. Remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications of future tutorials, and I'll see you next time.